Welcome to the Profile Corner. In today's video we're going to be trying to use this Tormek with the diamond wheels to sharpen a couple lathe tools. I have a bowl gouge mounted into the jig here, ready to go. I've set up the projection to be 75 millimeters, which is the distance here. And as best I can tell, I need to use jig setting 4 to get this profile to be matching here. I've used this template in hole A to make sure that I've got this at the proper distance away so that both of those wheels should spin when turned like that. So now I should be ready to try to sharpen this bowl gouge for the first time on this Tormek. I've got some water with anti-corrosion down inside here. It will not absorb into this diamond wheel. However, I've got to do this sharpening pretty quickly before that water freezes, because it is still quite cold out here in the shop. That water is already starting to freeze as it comes up. And I'm out of practice using this tool. I've colored the bevel on the tool so I'm able to see my progress. Let's see if I can take this off. There we can see the progress that we're making. It's cutting up to the edge pretty well, and I've got it pretty well matched. Okay, I'll come over to this other side now. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time at the point, because that'll grind very quickly. I want to spend more time at the edges here. I'm by no means an expert at using this tool. But we'll see what we can do to make it work out for us. I've had these space heaters running out here in the shop for the last 2 hours, and they're still showing that it's 32 degrees. I think that 32 degrees is the minimum temperature that those space heaters will actually show. This water is freezing as it's coming over the wheel. Not quite there. Looks like we've got quite a bit of material to remove here at the very corners. And then once we get this profile established, due to the way this jig works, all that I've got to do is match the settings here. JS4, P75, which is the projection out from the end, and then set up hole A with a jig to set the position of this. But I should be able to hit these same settings again later. It looks like I've still got a little bit of marker right there. These were flat ground at the factory, and of course this is putting a little bit of a curve profile into the grind because this is a 10-inch wheel. It's actually 250 millimeters, but it's close enough to 10 inches to call it 10 inches. Okay, let's see. So got a little bit right there at the very edge that we need to take out. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure to the wheel because you're not supposed to do that to the diamond wheels. You're only supposed to use minimal pressure when you're using these diamond wheels so that the diamonds do not fracture prematurely. Looks like we've almost got it here, just a little bit more there on the very edge. Looks like that may have gotten it on that side. Of course, this is a 600 grit wheel. It's going to start out being a little bit more coarse than that until it's been used a little bit. They do make a more coarse diamond wheel that you can use for shaping. Almost have it. Of course, with this diamond wheel, you don't need to be concerned about dishing out the wheel, unlike with a normal grinding stone that comes with the Tormek. Let's see how we're doing here. It looks like I've ground down the tip a little bit too much. I was trying to avoid doing that. There's a little bit of a hollow right there, and so I have to do some more grinding on it to try to take that out. So I've lost the tip. Having a little bit of difficulty with this jig sticking to this tool rest here. I suppose that's because it's new, and also because it's not very warm out here in the shop. So it's complicating the process a little bit here for me. I'll take this back off. It's getting hung up here on the end of it. Here's what it looks like right now. It looks pretty good to me, although it did lose part of the edge in the center. I think it'll be okay. Got it ground down pretty nicely. There is still a little bit of a shiny spot right here that you probably won't be able to see on the camera, which means I still need to come in there and take off a little bit more. Let's see if I can color it so that I can pick that up. Well, here's what it looks like. The tip is gone on it, which means I need to regrind it again. But I think that it is close enough for this video. So now what I need to do is to hone the inside of it. I moved the internal honing wheels from the other Tormek over to this one. What I should probably do here is to make an adjustment to the tool rest so I can put it over onto the other side and use that for the honing wheel. Got to get my jig here, put it through the A-hole, and now I've got to get this repositioned so that both of these wheels are rubbing. Okay, right now only the bottom wheel's rubbing. I've got to move kind of fast here because this water is already freezing onto the wheel. Okay, now I've got both of the wheels rotating, so I can lock this down. And in theory here, I can just bring this jig over and then do the honing at exactly the same angle that I had over at the grinding wheel. Not able to get the full range of motion here for some reason. And we'll take it out of the jig and give it a shot without the jig to hone it. It is making a difference here. It feels pretty sharp, so now I'll come down and I'll do the internal profile. Okay, so let's wipe off the honing compound here, and we can see how shiny of a profile we've got. See if this is scary sharp or not. There's what we ended up with. I initially thought that I lost the very tip, and I think that's just the way this grind is working out. So the tip actually does look okay. However, it's a little bit more swept back than what I was thinking that it would be, and that's because of how much I tilted the handle toward the end of the stroke. So I think that that'll work out pretty well, and I'm happy with it. However, I've got to stop doing the grinding right now with the Tormek because the wheel is icing up with the water. It's not really 32 degrees out here in the shop, as these space heaters are indicating. Let's test out the bull gouge and see how well it works now that we've got it sharpened. Well, there's some nice shavings. Okay, it looks like we got the outside smooth. Let's do the inside. Okay, I think that's probably enough for right now. It looks like this new gouge is doing pretty good. It's producing some very nice looking shavings. But after trying to get shavings that look like that for quite some time on a lathe, and now I think I've got the perfect tool sharpened very nicely to produce those shavings. I'm very happy with the results. It looks like I'll have to grind the other bull gouges to the same profile so that I don't get confused going from one bull gouge to another. This once again was ground down on the Tormek with jig setting 4 with the longest protrusion. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.